I want to take you to this news conference. Josh Burns, his office was vandalised in St Kilda. Jewish Member of Parliament, Josh Burns.
Reckless and dangerous vandalism of my office. It was clearly politically motivated by having the graffiti on the outside of the office. This was really ugly behaviour, and it was dangerous. It put residents and lives and livelihoods at risk. And the police are investigating. They're investigating fully, and we'll let them do their work. I want to remind people of what the office actually is and what it's there to do. My staff are there to look after our community, to provide access to government and government services, whether it be the NDIS, whether it be immigration, visa issues, Centrelink, whatever it is, my team are here to help. And at the moment, obviously, they're at home. They can't be in the office. It's not safe in the office. It's still a crime scene. And it's a reflection of 8 months, really, of my team turning up to work and being abused and being screamed at. And I've got really good people working for me. They are hard-working, decent, kind people who have no role in a conflict on the other side of the world. And their place of work has just been smashed in by really dangerous idiots. And it's a reflection of the sort of conduct of political debate right now. We're in Australia. This is St Kilda. We're in multicultural Melbourne, where it's such a beautiful part of our society to have people from all different melting pots coming together. And political debate in Australia has always been one where we come together, we can disagree, we can often tease each other about it, but we do so respectfully. And this isn't respectful right now. This is a dangerous escalation of people trying to bring a conflict on the other side of the world to our streets. And it needs to end. It needs to stop, because it's dangerous. And thankfully no one was hurt last night. But next time, I'm worried for my colleagues, I'm worried for my staff, I'm worried for people involved in political life in Australia. So it's been a pretty distressing morning. This sort of vandalism, this sort of political aggression has no place in Australia. It's enough. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Josh, this is one of a number of similar attacks on elected officers. As far as I'm aware, Victoria Police has yet to make one arrest or lay one charge. Do you believe it's now time that they devote more resources to these crimes and potentially set up a special task force?
Well, I've been engaging with the police this morning. They are putting resources into this. There is coordination across the Victoria Police and the Australian Federal Police. It's obviously has an extra layer because I'm a federal member of Parliament, and this is obviously politically motivated attack. So I'm confident in the police doing their work. They've been taking me through what they're doing this morning. This is a crime scene at the moment, and they can make further statements about how they plan to conduct the investigation. But from my end, it's obviously an unacceptable event. I'm nervous about it escalating even further. I'm nervous about someone getting hurt or worse, and the police are taking this seriously, and I'm very appreciative of that.
You've publicly made your stance that you want a ceasefire and end to this war. How does what happened this morning affect?
I'm desperate for this war to end. This is deeply personal for me, for my family. For generations, we've seen our family on the other side of the world being caught up in conflict, and I, if I could do anything to stop this conflict from happening any longer, I would do it. But we can't do that in Australia. We just don't have that sort of leverage. What happened outside my office caused distress to my staff, my team, my community. It didn't bring about peace in the Middle East. I wish if it did, I would have vandalised my own office, of course, but it didn't. It just vandalised an office here in Australia and caused distress. And no amount of aggression and violence here in Australia is going to change what's happening in the Middle East. I'm desperate for there to be a ceasefire. I'm desperate for there to be an agreement where hostages are returned home and where Palestinians can return to rebuilding their lives and getting on and living a life of dignity and respect and freedom. But it's happening on the other side of the world, and we're here in Australia, and all we're seeing at the moment is an escalation of violence here in Australia. and it's going to end up in disaster.
Josh, I've spoken to some community members who are Jewish here saying that since this started, they've been spat at, they've been verbally abused. How does that make you feel as a member of Macnamara?
The Jewish community has had a really hard time over the last 7 or 8 months. I've experienced a little bit of it myself. The Australia that I grew up in was an Australia of multiculturalism, of where the Jewish community could express themselves, could proudly walk down the street, not thinking about where they were, but just participating in Australian life. Now you've got Jewish community members who think about how they present themselves in public. Do they wear a yarmulke? Do they wear items that are visibly showing that they're Jewish? Do they go to university? That's a really terrible thing for people of Australians to be experiencing. And I'm sure the Jewish community is not the only community. Any community that feels that sense of, should I be able to show who I am and what part of my identity can be displayed, if you're questioning that, then that's a real problem. That's not what Australia is. That's not the Australia that I love. So I know that my community is hurting right now, and today wouldn't have helped, but we can't forget what Australia is. And Australia is a proudly multicultural country, and we have to keep fighting for that.
We've heard that Anthony Albanese hasn't been able to attend his electorate office in Sydney all year because of the risk of protesters. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's outrageous that the Prime Minister, and more importantly his staff, who are there to service the people of Grainla, to give them access to the same services that my team do in Macnamara, of Centrelink, NDIS, visa, immigration services. How does preventing those services being accessed by the people of Grainla help anything in the Middle East? It doesn't. And I know the Prime Minister's, I spoke to him this morning, he reached out this morning, and I'm very grateful for that. And he expressed his full solidarity and support, and he knows exactly what my staff are going through today. Any other questions?
Do you know when you'll be able to open the office back?
So the police are doing their investigations at the moment. They'll take as long as they take, and then Parliamentary Services will have to do a clean-up. It's pretty bad inside there. There's red paint all at the front of my office. There's a lot of glass that needs to be repaired. There's quite extensive damage. So obviously also there was fires outside the front of the office. So there was a lot of police activity this morning. So I'm hoping in the next few days the clean-up can begin. What's it proved other than it was a dangerous and silly act that has caused distress? You haven't brought about peace. All you've done is set fire outside a residential building where you've put people's lives at risk. I mean, how is that a peaceful act? How? I can't see it. All I want to do is represent my community, to work hard for this amazing community that I live and work in. That's all my staff want to do. And to prevent that from happening was just a callous and dangerous act, and won't bring about peace. That's it. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Member for Macnamara Josh Burns there in St Kilda. A callous and dangerous act is how he describes it, and hard to disagree with that. Just mindless vandalism at his office in Melbourne. We'll have more reaction to that in a moment.